Today we're going to be seeing how Joshua makes his New York pizza at home on his new channel. So let's see how he does, because we've already reviewed Joshua making pizza before. He did a pretty good job. Now, let's get started.
Pizza in this place they're very particular about. Crisp, crackly crust, charred on the bottom, cheesy on top, pizza purity at its heart. Some people say Connecticut does it better. I say New York does it better. So let's make it, shall we?
I only lived on the East Coast once in my life. I used to live in Virginia. Besides that, I've grown up on the West Coast for my entire childhood. So on the West Coast, I mean, everyone says that New York pizza is the best. Some people say Chicago, but most people say New York. And if it's not in the US, then obviously Italy.
Okay, pizza dough, you can do this by hand, by the way. You don't have to use a stand mixer. Don't yell at me.
It's better if you use a stand mixer. I mean, trust me, unless you want to like exercise a little bit, get a mixer. I mean, you can do this by hand. It's just gonna take a lot of effort.
First, you're gonna combine 810 grams of bread flour. The reason we're using grams, not cups, grams, please, is because this is essentially a bread recipe. And with bread recipes, you want as much accuracy as possible. Then you're gonna add 90 grams of the nicest whole wheat flour you can find. If you have a local company that mills their own, do that, because it's gonna add some flavor to this pizza dough that you didn't even know it had. I'm using your Cora Rojo from Barton Springs Mills in Austin.
Did Joshua just plug a company? I wonder how much they paid him for that little advertisement.
Next, you'll add 14 grams of sugar. And I know this seems like a lot, 31 grams of kosher salt. It sounds like it's gonna be too salty, you just gotta trust me on it.
31 grams, yeah, it does sound like a lot. The only thing is that if you ask an Italian, they would say that you don't need to add sugar to the dough. Now Joshua is adding a little bit of whole wheat, so this isn't going to be such a light dough, it's gonna be a little heavier. But he split it, so it's not going to be all whole wheat, which is good, because if you make all whole wheat, it's gonna be very heavy. You need to add a lot of yeast to make this proof.
We'll start mixing this. I wanna get it all combined. And while that's going, I have 576 grams of water, and to that, either 8 grams of fresh yeast in there, or 5 grams of instant yeast if you can't find fresh, although fresh is what's recommended. Dissolve that in there. Once it's dissolved, you're just gonna stir in a nice 27 grams of extra virgin olive oil.
What?
All right, so with this mixing on low speed.
Olive oil with the recipe, it's not really needed. I mean, it's a good thing that an Italian is not reviewing this.
Oh, it's not right!
Because I'll tell you right now that an Italian would say, no sugar, no olive oil. This is like a New York style pizza. It's not a Neapolitan style, you know, from Napoli. So it's different recipes, but still, I think it's overkill.
I'm gonna add my water. If you're mixing by hand, just keep mixing by hand until you reach a shaggy dough. And then once you get to a shaggy dough, you're just gonna let that mix or knead by hand until nice and smooth, about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, she's pretty much there. So dump this bad boy out. Let's just take a quick look at her. Oh yeah, dude. Smooth, nice, supple. I'm just giving it a light extra knead just to make sure we're good, but it's looking nice and smooth. It doesn't need to be perfect.
So far, this recipe is looking good. Now, I've remade a few of Joshua's recipes before, and I remade his hamburger recipe, which he used his own dough recipe for that. And I have to admit that Joshua is very accurate with his measurements when it comes to the dough. With the other remake that we made of Adam Ragusia's pizza, the recipe was completely off. I mean, I tried to follow his measurements exactly like they were in the video, but exactly. I couldn't, and I'm not the only one that couldn't. Future Canoe couldn't either.
Oh, lightly grease it. Dough goes in. Now we're gonna cover that completely with plastic wrap so it doesn't dry out. And you don't need to worry about this being too perfectly kneaded. You just want it as smooth as you can get it. Don't over knead it, because it's gonna sit in the fridge minimum overnight, up to 24 hours. Very important note. I know what you're thinking. God, I have to do this a day ahead. Yes, you have to do this one ahead. I'm not providing an alternative. The only way to really get that flavor is to let it age overnight. That's the only way. You could hypothetically let this sit at room temperature and let it go really fast. But again, you're not gonna get that ultimate texture. So plan ahead.
Again, this heavily depends on the recipe, because some pizzerias swear that you only need to leave it outside for about 6 to 8 hours. That will allow it to rise, and then you can, you know, make your little pizzas. And if you want to eat something instantaneously, well, you need to either think ahead or follow Chef Ranver's recipe on how to make a quick pizza.
We're gonna pop that bad boy out. Ooh, this dough feels good. You hear that? That's a good plop. So you can divide this into 2 pieces and have a really big pie that's like 19 inches. That's a lot more like New York. And if you don't have a baking steel large enough to fit that, you can always scale these pieces of dough to be smaller. I would recommend maybe 300 to 400 gram pieces, which will yield 4, maybe 5 pieces of dough total, which will get you like a 14 to 16 inch pie.
When making a pizza recipe, it is a good idea to check and make sure that your oven is big enough. My oven is actually a small oven. So I can't even put a turkey in my oven. Like literally, it is not a normal size, like US size oven. It's teeny.
Now, to pre-shape your dough, this is extremely important, okay? Make sure all that gas is out. It's gonna be really cold, which will make it a lot easier to handle, right? If this was not cold, it would be way stickier. So you're gonna take the sides, stretch, pull to the center, stretch, pull to the center. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Make sure there's not too much flour on this side. If there is, it won't quite adhere the way you want. Bring that bad boy together. You can kind of pinch it together. And once you have this sort of sack, you're gonna flip that over, seam side down. Using your pinky fingers, keep constant contact with the board, and you're gonna kind of slide the dough ball around and allow it to pull itself underneath itself. So that dough is essentially folding in to itself repeatedly and getting tension. That we get a nice tight ball. If you have a lot of air bubbles, just kind of spank them out. I'm not even joking, like that actually does help.
I know that Joshua's not being as vulgar as he normally is with some of his recent videos on his new channel, but why must we always use overly sexualized words with this? I mean, Nick does it as well, doesn't he? At least Uncle Roger says sorry, children, but you know.
Smooth, tight ball. There we go, look at that. That's a nice, smooth, tight ball in comparison to this. So in a proofing box, or you can even use a baking sheet, that's fine too. Proofing box is a lot easier. You can get these on Amazon, it's not that hard to find. If you wanna find them, links in the description. So a little bit of bread flour, dust the bottom of your proofing box or baking sheet. Take your dough ball, place it in there. Now just repeat with the rest of your dough. Now once that's done, you're then going to cover it with a lid, which comes with the proofing box, that's why I love these, or you can just cover it with greased plastic wrap.
Is that Spam that I see up in the corner? Why does Joshua have a bunch of Spam cans in the corner?
Let that sit at room temperature for 3 to 5 hours to proof, or you could possibly do it overnight in the fridge. Again, if you don't want to bake it same day.
Oof, this is definitely not the recipe that you want if you just want to make a pizza like now. You know what, thinking about it, we reviewed Brian's recipe on making like a 1-hour pizza, and it turned out to look delicious. Maybe the dough recipe is not going to be as good as this one, but still the end result looked to be fantastic.
The sauce is really simple. You don't even need to cook it. How beautiful is that? A 28-ounce can of crushed San Marzano tomatoes. Oh, why are you putting it into a blender? Because I want it extra smooth. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, 3 cloves of whole garlic, that'll get eviscerated in there, half a teaspoon of sugar, the tiniest amount. All we're doing is curbing some of that acidity. It's not meant to add any sweetness whatsoever. Half a teaspoon in comparison to all of this.
The thing is, the whole reason why people say use San Marzanos is because San Marzano tomatoes come from the Neapolitan area. The tomatoes in this area tend to be sweeter than your average type. So you don't need to add a whole bunch of sugar to this. I mean, if you want, you can. But normally in the US, we add sugar to everything. So people are used to having a bunch of sugar in their food. Also, if you want a true neutralizer of acidity, you can mask it with a little bit of sugar, which will increase the sweetness, or you add a little bit of baking soda, which does neutralize the acidity.
2.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now just give that a rip till as smooth as possible. Just like that, you have a beautiful pizza sauce that's gonna work perfectly. Oh, why is it raw? What if it doesn't have enough flavor, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I could eat that with a spoon and I would be very happy. Second of all, there's such a thin layer on the pizza and the pizza's gonna cook for so long that this sauce is going to cook on the pizza. You don't wanna put cooked sauce and then cook it again. It's gonna taste ketchup-y and we don't want that.
Is anyone gonna tell them that canned tomatoes are already cooked? Yeah, canned tomatoes. They're cooked in the can. This is the whole process of canning. And a lot of pizzerias, they don't cook the tomato sauce. They open the can, they may blend it, and that's it. Like literally, they may add a few spices here and there, a few ingredients, maybe a little oregano, but that's it.
Cheese might not seem that important, but it is. And I have a mix of 3 different kinds of cheese for a very specific effect.
Okay.
We have 2 cups of low moisture mozzarella and 2 cups of full fat mozzarella. The low moisture gets you that cheese pull nice, but the full fat is gonna give you that unctuous, delicious, creamy mozzarella texture and flavor. And then finally, 3/4 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano. That's gonna give you that funk. It's gonna give you that salty kick. It's gonna give you maybe even a little umami. So toss that together. The other thing the Parmigiano does is it dries out the cheese mixture.
Personally speaking, if you're gonna be adding mozzarella to a pizza, it needs to be buffalo mozzarella, fresh buffalo mozzarella. The one that I get from Italy. They sell it right in my grocery store. The only issue with using fresh mozzarella is that it's very wet and liquidy. So there are ways of squeezing the water or the milk out of it. Yes, you can. The problem with using pre-shredded cheeses is all the other chemicals that they add to it to allow it not to stick to one another. It's just not the same when it melts. Also, it's preservatives, so this cheese lasts a lot longer than fresh cheese. Mind you, mozzarella is a fresh cheese. It shouldn't be shelf stable for 2 to 3 months.
Cheese mixture is ready. Our dough balls have arisen. They smell unbelievable. Yeasty, a little sweet. They've gotten some fermentation to them. Dust your work surface. Just gonna dust one of those with flour on the top. Look at this thing, dude. It's so soft, it's so luscious. Now I'm gonna work this out a little bit first, and then we'll put it on the pizza peel and then finish working it. So, very simple. You're gonna take a fist, and you're gonna press it out just to get that initial shape. We've got a little bit of a border here. You're gonna stretch it. Stretch it and pull it. Stretch it and pull it. All right, use flour as needed. Don't let it get sticky, it's fine.
This is the second video that we've seen of Joshua with his new channel. And why do I get the feeling like this is almost identical to Nick Giovanni's new channel? Both of them created a separate cooking channel, brand new, just this past year, about making recipes. Both of their kitchens look very similar. Both of their styles of presenting look very similar. And the recipes that they're doing, the way that they explain, while they are different, they each have their own character they explain differently, it just seems like it's a copy of one another.
Now for the true test. Okay, we're at about 12 there and 13 there. So we just need to widen her out here. And here, we're almost there. Boom, 14, 14, 14. Okay, we got a 14-inch pie right here. We got a nice little border around the edge.
If you're using a tape measure, be sure to give it a wash after that so it doesn't like gunk up the mechanism with flour. Yeah, that's a good idea.
We're gonna a little semolina to a pizza peel. Then we're just gonna drag our little guy on there. The semolina acts as like ball bearings, so it slides around on the peel. All right, and now we're gonna sauce this bad boy. So sauce. You're just gonna spread that out. Starting from the center, kind of rotating your way out. Finally, a generous layer of your cheese. She's ready to go in the oven.
Like, I think this is gonna turn out really well, unless he accidentally burns the pizza. He won't do that because they won't show that on TV. But this is looking like really, really good.
Now to use a home oven, you're gonna open up your oven, place a pizza stone in the oven. It's cold, it's off. Close, and set it to the hottest temperature it can get. This oven needs to be 500 to 550 Fahrenheit, preheat it for 1 hour, then you can load it up. Now we're gonna bake that puppy at 550 degrees Fahrenheit or 287 Celsius, convection for 7 to 8 minutes. Now about 4 minutes in, you're gonna rotate your pizza 180 degrees, close the door, leave it in for the remaining amount of time, and then finally, broil it on high for 1 more minute.
If anybody knows what type of oven Joshua is using, please let me know in the comments down below, because I've never seen this type of oven before. I don't know if it's a Wolf. It's definitely not Rationale. Now, me personally, if this kitchen was mine, I would have bought a Rationale oven. And I probably wouldn't have bought the little Rationale oven. I probably would have bought the big one. And those things are not cheap, but they can do everything.
And once that bad boy comes out, immediately hit the edges with a light drizzle of the nicest extra virgin olive oil you got, maybe a little drizzle on the pie itself, and cut your fresh baked pizza into about 8 slices. First of all, crust. We've done it. The flavor is exactly what I want it to be.
Now, the only thing that, again, this is just a personal critique, it seems like the pizza may be a little on the bready side. It may be a little heavy.
And then of course the dough is beautifully seasoned. That tomato is only half cooked, meaning you get a little bit of that fresh tart tomato flavor, but also it's slightly reduced, so it's got that sweetness coming out. This took more attempts to figure out the baking process than you could possibly imagine. We went to pizza oven, then back to regular oven, then back to pizza oven, and realized that a home oven can actually produce New York pizza. This is not as good as Scar's.
Whoa.
I can honorably say that, but I can say it is 70% of the way there without having to fly all the way to New York. And doing it yourself at home, the more you do this, the better you can get. Dare I say, could you get to 100% after a few practice rounds? I've only made this pizza a couple of times and I'm happy with how well it turns out.
That's a shocker, because you remember that Joshua's series was But Better, which was a very good series. This is what made him popular. And he always made recipes that were better than any of the fast food chain recipes. He did a very good job. It's just me personally, I think I would prefer Brian's recipe over this recipe. It's just my personal opinion, but I'm not gonna be waiting 2 days to make pizza, really. I want to make something quick and easy. Until next time, take care. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. And until next time, I'll see you again very soon. Bye.